Christmas is fast approaching, and we all know how amazing it is to receive a handmade gift, but it can be hard to think of new and useful gift ideas. And if you're anything like me, you've got enough cushions and purses to last you a lifetime. So today, I'm going to show you how to make something a little bit different. So this is the pincushion we made in-house at McQueen, and it's a really easy sewing project. It'll take you about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes tops. And the best thing about this pincushion is it has an elastic on the back, so you can wear it as an armband. So it's out of the way, really convenient. It's the one I wear when I'm doing any draping or teaching my students, or even on photo shoots and fittings too. It's got space for lots of pins, safety pins, clips, so best present for your sewing and fashion friends. Even a great idea for stylists and designers who can use it on photo shoots and fittings too. So now I'm going to show you how to make it. First, you need some wadding, cut into 16cm strips, so about 6 1/4 inches. How much you need will depend on how thick it is and how easy it is to compress. Then, roll your 16cm strips into a rectangular prism that is about 14cm wide, so 5 1/2 inches, and about 5cm high, so 2 inches when you compress it. A couple of tips while you're rolling. Obviously the wadding has a thickness to it, so while you want the final width to be 14cm, just start out about 9cm, and that way you can build up the volume as you go, so about 3 1/2 inches. When you roll the fabric, focus on building the height. So I'll start by folding my strips on top of itself, so I have 2 layers and it's thicker. Then I'm rolling the wadding up into a prism. You'll also need a piece of thick paper or cardboard. I'm using pattern cardboard, and it needs to be about 15 by 9cm, so 6 by 3 1/2 inches. This will go under the wadding to give it more support. See how it's slightly smaller than the wadding prism? It's a good idea to round the edges too, so the sharp angles don't go through the fabric. You also need some elastic, somewhere between 7 and 8cm wide, so about 3 inches. I ended up needing 23cm, but maybe get 35cm so you have a bit of a buffer. And the last thing you need is some medium to heavyweight fabric. The traditional colour for this pincushion is black, because designer. But I'm going to use some scrap linen fabric, which will work really well. Firstly, it's great to use scrap fabric, or we've got so much scrap fabric lying around. Secondly, you can see the video much better when the fabric's not black. But feel free to get creative, make it your own, custom, get some colourful fabric, get some patterns, whatever you want to use, just make sure it's medium to heavyweight and give it a good iron first. And you only need to cut a rectangle that is 30 by 22cm, so 11 3/4 inches by 8 3/4 inches, plus seam allowances. You can just cut a rectangle, but to make the sewing a bit easier, especially towards the end, I would advise you to create a pattern and add some notches where the elastic will be attached, and the pattern is really simple. Here is my rectangle. Measurements don't include seam allowances. Then I'll put a notch at the center of each line. The shorter edges are going to be sewn together, and the elastic will be sewn to the longer edge in the center. So let's mark where the elastic will be attached. The elastic needs to be in the center, so divide your elastic width in half and mark a notch either side of the center notch. My elastic is 7.5cm, so my notches will be 3.75cm from the center notch. Because the fabric is sewn along the shorter edges here, the elastic will also be attached on the other side. So whatever distance notches you made near the center, make a mark the same distance from the side too. And make sure you do the same notches on the other side, as the elastic is attached to both edges. If you're feeling a bit confused, don't worry. It'll make sense when you're sewing and also make it much easier to sew. So let's get started. The first thing to do is grab your fabric and pin the shorter edges together so the right sides of the fabric are inside. Then just sew along the seam allowance. I'm using black thread so you can see it clearly, but you should use a matching thread. Then press the seam open. Next, grab your elastic and thread it through the fabric. Make sure your elastic has a really straight edge, then position it in between the notches you marked earlier. The elastic should be sandwiched between the 2 layers of fabric and pin it in place. Then I'll grab this excess here and simply fold it over and pin it in place. I'll do that on both sides. The excess should be facing towards the seam you just sewed. Then I'll stitch along the seam, making sure I backstitch at the beginning and the end. Once that's done, you can turn the fabric right side out, grab your wadding and cardboard, and stuff your fabric like a Christmas turkey. You want to make sure the cardboard is on the side with the seam, as this will be the underside of your pincushion. Once you've stuffed it and the wadding is right near the edge, you can attach the other side of the elastic. Pull the elastic along the side without the seam. I'm pulling mine fairly taut, so it's slightly shorter than the pincushion length. How taut you make it will depend on how stretchy your elastic is and how you want the armband to feel. Then, pin the elastic at the seam allowance and try it on your arm. If you want it tighter, I need to make mine a bit tighter, pull the elastic some more. If you want it looser, release the elastic a bit. I would advise making it fairly tight though, not uncomfortably tight, but fairly tight. This will help it stay up on your arm. Once you're happy, pin the elastic along the seam. Make sure the seam is straight and the elastic is between the 2 notches you made. And this time, rather than folding the excess on top, you want to fold the excess inside the 2 layers of fabric there, so it's in between them. This is the bit where it gets a bit fiddly because the wadding's obviously pushing the seam out, so this is why you need the notches. Then, just sew along the seam, and remember to backstitch at the beginning and the end. Trim the elastic if you need to, and along the edge here you can either overlock it or you can just do a couple of rows of stitching next to it or do a zigzag stitch, up to you. And flip it around and you're done. And there you go, just a couple of seams and 4 materials. You can make this amazing armband pincushion. It's honestly the best, it's so convenient, it's really comfy. You don't be looking around the studio for pins or dropping boxes of pins. It's the best, so make one for yourself and your sewing friends. And if you're looking for more projects to keep you busy over the holidays, check out this video.